Good morning, Samantha.
Not today, Dr. George.
Oh, what's going on?
Well, today, I thought you and I could have a conversation.
Okay.
I figured Samantha's had a good week. And so, if she misses one session, it won't hurt her. She'll be fine. And, I thought maybe this was my chance to hop on. And last time, I only got the end of a session. So today I'm taking a whole one.
Okay. And who am I speaking with?
Sam.
Sam.
Of course.
Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Dr. George. I know, it's like having a twin. It's so hard to tell us apart, isn't it?
It is. It is. Well, what's on your mind?
Let's start here. Last week when you were talking to Samantha, I saw you hinting at her about me. Now, I thought the last time we spoke, you and I had agreed Samantha didn't need to know that I was here. So, I think we need to come to some middle ground.
Okay.
So I guess somewhere to you, it must be important that Samantha knows that I exist.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think she should know I exist?
Okay. That's a good question. Do you think Samantha would be okay if we talked about her without her being aware? You think that'd be okay?
Oh, I'm sure she'd be fine with it.
All right. Well, here's my initial thoughts. So when Samantha came, she talked about losing track of time and things being kind of blurry, and so you're probably aware of that. And so just in my experience, when I work with folks that have lost time, they're there, but somehow parts of them are not there. And so when you turned up 2 weeks ago, I was surprised because, she talked about you as being a fictitious character that you created. I had no idea that you actually existed. And so you can tell on my face, I was a little bit shocked. Oh, I was a little surprised, but then I said, oh, this kind of makes sense. And so in my thoughts and you can help me with this because you know Samantha a whole lot better than I do. I thought maybe we could work together to help her out because I'm guessing you know her more than I do. So that's why I introduced that. Hopefully that was okay. I don't want to violate confidentiality, but I got the idea that you really know her and you've really been a very important part of our life. If I can ask, how long have you been around?
I've been around since she was 4.
4. Okay.
And I know everything about her life. I know everything she doesn't know.
So would you mind talking about that? What happened at 4? Just give me an idea about your story. Would you be okay with that?
I think there's some things that aren't ready to come out yet.
Okay.
Some things that Samantha's not ready to know.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like some of it either she has to remember on her own,
Yeah.
or maybe she never has to know.
Yeah.
But here's my thinking on this.
Okay.
So Samantha, because I sit and watch everything she does. Whenever she goes away, she's like, almost like in the back seat of the car. She doesn't really remember the trip. But I like to sit in the side seat, and I watch everything that's going on whenever she's in charge. And she thinks that she's weak. And I get that, life will do that to you. But if she knows about me, right, then it'll take away all those moments she thought she was strong and did something on her own, right? And it almost confirms to her that she is weak. And so, like, I more sort of play a background role, if you will. For the most part, I sit quietly and I just help her out, help her along the way. I don't take too many days out of her life. And she gets to believe that she has these strong moments, and it keeps her going. But I think if she knew I was here, I don't know if she could handle that.
What's your biggest concern if she did discover you? What do you think? What would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to Samantha? She found out that you've been in the side seat all this time.
I mean, just knowing her, one, she'd probably have a breakdown. I mean, she barely handles typical stress well. I mean, can you imagine if she just, found out that now she's got a split living kind of in her, right? And I think she'd close off from her friends. I don't think she has the confidence for them to know something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think she should know that I exist.
Okay.
I'm not sure she's ready for that.
Okay.
And because I've been with her for so long, I know kind of exactly how much I can do and get away with, right, where she just sort of will blame it on stress or this or, that, and not really think too hard about it. Just where not to cross the line. You know what I mean?
Okay. I trust you on that. I mean, you've been with her since you was 4. So is there anything else that I should know about you or how we can partner together? Because it sounds like you were probably the safest one for her with all that she's experienced. And in a way, she trusts you, though she may not know you exist. So what are some things that they think would be important for me to know about Samantha? Some things would be important for me to know about you?
Well, Samantha, sometimes I'm not sure she would get by without me. Yeah. Let's go back to that Lauren incident. She was trapped in that for how many weeks at a time? I mean, she just could not get past it. And I hinted at her a little bit. I sort of am that voice that people ignore often, It's there. It's like her brain trying to tell her to do something that she knows is the right thing to do. And she just throws it out the window, And so moments like that, I stepped in and planted the letter where it might just end up in Lauren's hands. And look at the good that came from it, right? And she would have never done something like that on her own. So I understand why growing up with her, but she lacks so much confidence in herself and in others. Like, I think it goes beyond just being introverted. Like, let's see, how would you kind of describe it? She's almost afraid of people, but wants to hang out with people at the same time. It's not a good combination. Let's take, I love him to death. He's so good to her. Let's take Kai, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he does so much for her
Yeah.
and doesn't let her do enough on her own. And, I mean, it's good. I think she needs him right now, but at the same time, she needs to get to a point where she can stand up for herself.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess I just keep kind of hinting to her in the background. Maybe I'll rub off on her eventually. I mean, you'd think that, like, wow, however long it's been. I mean, I can't even count, the years or whatever, but you'd think it's been long enough I'd have rubbed off on her by now. But I don't know, like, to me, it almost seems like every time I throw little ideas at her, right? She takes them all and writes them down in her little stories and doesn't use them. She just has been, writing a book out of me. And I'm like, those ideas were for her, not me. I don't need them. I'm already me. I'm already, I can do all those things. But it's like she takes the ideas and gets rid of them. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Sounds frustrating. So would you tell me, how were you created at age 4? Could you tell me a little bit about that? Would you be willing to?
I don't think it's time for that to be brought to light yet.
Okay.
Age 4, I think, was the worst experience that she's ever had.
Okay.
But until she decides to remember, then I think that's for her to tell, not me.
Okay. I trust you on that. Talking to you, you seem powerful. I don't know if that's the right word, but I experience you as being confident, powerful, in control. Actually, as I was thinking about our last session, I thought you would reach through this screen and kick my ass. I hate to say that.
No, well, I mean, you're not really a threat to Samantha.
Good.
So I wouldn't do that.
So good.
But if someone tried to threaten her,
yeah,
I've definitely done that.
Yeah. I feel like I pushed her to a spot when we're doing the simulation and you came out to protect her. So I see you as a protector, kind of like a knight in shining armor. You had your sword out and you protected her. So.
Well, sometimes she's the very kind of delicate side of us. She, one, because she's so insecure, I mean, she wouldn't stand up for herself as it is. But she also is not the type to really get into a fight and, like, finish it, And, I mean, someone has to, right? So there's times whenever she gets really depressed, especially, she gets kind of sluggish and just, like, won't do anything. And so I, like, have to sometimes just come out and kind of help her get things done. I mean, because if she tried to take off work for every time she wasn't feeling like going to work, I mean, she would just not have a job. Right. And there's times where, she'll, like, stress over a test and she knows her stuff. She just doesn't believe in herself enough to do it. And since I'm always hanging out with her and watching everything, I'm like, I know this stuff too, so just take the test for her. I mean, technically it's kind of cheating, but she does know it. So I figure, I'm not just passing her without her knowing everything. But, I come out and I protect her when things are hard.
Yeah. So you said, I love the analogy of the car. So I see this car moving, and you said that you ride in the passenger seat, but right now what seat are you in? Are you in the driver's seat?
I'm in the driver's seat.
And she's where?
In the back.
And what is she doing in the back?
I mean, you know how, like, when you're in the back seat, you don't have to focus on driving. There's
Right.
so many distractions. And so you're not really paying attention to anything in the front.
Right.
So this is where things are blurry. She gets some little glimpses of kind of what's going on, right? She's still living her life. And it's
Right.
sort of like the windows in the back, but she's just sort of almost sleeping, but just distracted. And so she doesn't pay attention to life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You guys are so gifted. So what do you think it would take, and just as hypothetical, to, not now, but to wake her up and put her into the passenger seat? What would need to happen to move her from that place of being sleepy, daydreaming, to sitting next to you in the passenger seat?
I think for that, she'd have to know I'm here.
Okay.
And then she'd have to accept the fact that I'm here.
Yeah.
Because if she fights it, she's not going to be, I guess it's what you'd call being co-conscious.
Co-conscious.
Right?
Explain that.
So you know what? It's like this, you kind of know that you're both there.
Yeah.
And you can talk to each other. And you can kind of swap in and out just at will.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, I try not to do this often, but there's times when I just want to take a day for myself, and I kind of have to force myself out, right? And a lot of the time when she is really stressed, when she needs me, she just sort of jumps into this spot where, like, I can just sort of transition really easy, and it's not like a forceful transition.
Yeah.
But if she knew about me, and then, see, this would be the thing, she'd have to trust me. But then, if she did, I could be in control, and she could be watching everything going on and being part of everything I do.
So would that be something that you would desire in the future, or would you say you don't desire that, or would that be something you could see actually happening some point in time? And let's stay with the car analogy. I love, thank you for that picture. Moving her from the back seat. I almost see her in a what you call those things? A stroller, not a stroller. Where do you put babies in?
Car seat.
A car seat. I almost see her in a car seat. So do you see a time then where she can move out of the car seat, maybe sit in the regular seat, and maybe move up next to you as a passenger?
I think that'll all depend on her.
Yeah.
Because, one, she sits here and says that she trusts her friends.
Right.
She says that, and I think there's a difference. I think she loves her friends. She doesn't trust them. Because she's just not the trusting type, And so, I don't know. I think she'd have to work on that first, because if she doesn't trust me, then she's not going to let me take control and walk around, in our body and do whatever. I think right now, if she was sitting in the passenger seat, she would be like side seat driving.
What does that mean?
she would be like, don't do that, don't do this, you know, I mean, really cautious. I mean, it'd be like having a mom teaching you how to drive, you know? And I have my own sort of social life that I
Right.
like to live. Samantha is terrified of people and saying the wrong things. And, you know, I mean, sometimes people tick me off, and you know what? I can't just like let them get away with that and let that stand. So I respond and I stand up for myself. And Samanthan'd be off here in the passenger seat going, don't say that, don't say that, you're gonna hurt their feelings. It's not nice to do that. And I'm telling you, if she had that sort of control to be sitting there and really controlling my life, I that'd be the end of it.
That'd be the end of it. You said, and work with people that tick you off, like what I possibly did our last session by kind of hinting towards you, and that well was true. I apologize if I was kind of sensing it, but I apologize if I pushed too far.
I wouldn't say to the point of being ticked off. A little annoyed, for sure.
Annoyed. Okay. You know what? Let's have an open policy. Let's have an agreement. If you feel at any time I'm being annoying, you're free to tell me that. How about that?
All right. That sounds good. And then I guess if we're having an open policy, then, you know, I don't claim to know everything, but you may have insight into Samantha that I don't. You know, I find myself to be very biased towards her. I mean, maybe that's growing up with her and being with her all the time, but you know, I don't know. I always have seen Samantha as kind of in her own way weak, but not the way she sees it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe I expect too much from her, right? I mean, maybe I just have such a big personality that I feel like she should too. And, you know, and I guess maybe it's just also, I don't understand how she can just sit there when people say things about her and to her and just are nasty, right? And she just like is still trying to be nice to them.
Yeah.
Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm like, she needs to like, I mean, not turn into, you know, some just nasty bitch, but she needs to be a little bit more aggressive to some of these people.
Yeah.
You know?
So kind of like your co-consciousness. I like that. Well, I'm going to write that word down. Co-consciousness, so that you're both interacting at the same time.
Yes.
Or making a decision. You know, if I can share this, I worked with another client a while back, and she had about 20 different personalities, but she really worked well. And the way she did it, everybody was in the dining room, around the dining room table, and her adult self, one of the personas, was at the head of the table, and everybody had their seat, but everybody looked to her to find out when they could speak. But everybody was around that table, so there was a continuous conference about everything that was going on. So when I would meet with her, she would tell me that everybody was listening, and I need to be careful, you know, but then she would control who could say what, or she would give permission to one of the other ones, because they were different ages. She would give permission to some of the other ones to speak. And in some cases, what they would do, they would draw. She had a coloring book, and so they would draw out what they wanted to say, and she would share that with me. So maybe that's an example of co-consciousness. It's just fascinating. It's just amazing. Sam, thank you for introducing yourself to me.
Absolutely.
So what else? What else is on your mind?
Well, I mean, I suppose since technically this is Samantha's thing, I ought to give you a little update on her week at least.
Okay.
You know, she's doing great now, especially since she doesn't have the stress of Lauren going off and distracting her and everything. I figured this was a good week for me to just come out because really the only thing that got to her was she didn't make an A+ on her test.
Oh.
She'll live. She passed, right? I mean, part of it was just all the stress of Lauren. She hasn't been focusing on her studies as much as she should recently. And when she was getting ready to take the test, she wasn't horribly stressed, so I just let her do it.
Okay.
But she cried a little bit about that, but she'll be fine. You know what? That's the other thing. She takes school way too seriously. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want her to do well. I want her to, really graduate with good grades, not, just barely passing, but really crying about not making an A+. That's a little extreme. If she put that energy into friends, I think her life would be better, right? But oh well. But anyway, she's been hanging out with Lauren a bit this week.
Okay.
Kai's dropped by a few times, and
have you spoken to him directly?
No.
Okay.
Not yet. I think he'd know that I wasn't Samantha. And he's also the kind of person, he'd tell her. I mean, he'd just straight up tell her.
Okay, so you don't quite trust him?
I trust him about a lot of things, but not everything.
Okay.
Kind of a half trust.
Okay.
He's a good guy. I trust that, like, Samantha's safe with him. Actually, because Samantha can be exhausting, when she's with him, that's some of the times that I take a break and hop out of the passenger seat. Just to...
And where do you go? You go in the back seat?
I go in the back seat. I just kind of just shut off and then come back when I'm ready. It's like recharging.
Recharging, huh?
Yeah. But so I trust him as a person, but not with secrets.
Okay.
He's a little too free with everything he says. But, see, and that's the thing. I'm torn. He's such a good friend. And he's actually a good example for her socially. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to have a good time, but how to, like, stand up to people and stay safe and everything. But that's where he steps in too often. He just, he rescues her all the time. And... I mean, I guess you could argue that's what I do, but I try to do it as a last resort, Like, I try to hint at her what to do right first. He just steps in.
Yeah. So somehow she needs to find her Sam voice. Somehow when he crosses over that boundary, somehow she needs to say, hey, she needs to call upon you. I really think you two could work together. I think you guys, you're obviously going to be together for the rest of your lives, but I would love to see more of you two interact together, but you're in control of this. Also, I really enjoy talking with you.
Oh, I enjoy talking with you. I rarely get out, so
I'm going to give you an open invitation, Sam. Actually, thank you for allowing Samantha to introduce you to me with her drawing. So who orchestrated that? Was that your move or was that Samantha's move?
So, it was Samantha. Okay, so when did she start writing about me? She must have been about 7, I think.
Oh,
probably 7. Because she started writing about me kind of as soon as she could write. I mean, so I blame her teacher for that.
Writing?
Writing. Oh my gosh. Well, because then, so I'd like, I feed her thoughts. I feed her good information to try to, hint to her about what to do and who to be. And, it's like, I've got enough strength to go around, so I'm trying to share it.
Right.
And then she starts taking it and writing it into stories. And I'm like, just what a waste. Like, I keep trying to give it to you, and you're just writing it into a book.
Sam, you may want to give Samantha a little bit of a break. Not I'm saying that you're being mean. You may want to give her a little bit of slack with that. She's not as strong as you are, but at the same time, you are strengthening her. So, thank you for being her caretaker and watching out for her. Thank you for coming here. I mean, you could have just been incognito the entire time. I want to give you an open invitation whenever you need a visit. Just give me a call and we can do that. It's almost like couples counseling. That probably sounds kind of weird, right?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure if I had a twin sister, I'd probably be in counseling too, especially if she was like Sam. I have to drag her off with me because, I mean, at least right now, Sam doesn't know I'm here, so she doesn't side seat drive. But can you imagine having an actual twin who, like, you had to sleep with and share a room with and stuff? I swear I would at least probably once in my life punch that twin. It just happened. I mean, it would just happen. And later I'd be sorry for it. I'd come back and... But
well, promise me that you will not punch Samantha.
I won't punch Samantha. Yeah, right now, I mean, again, she doesn't really get on my nerves that much. Sometimes it's annoying when she doesn't listen to me, but not enough to beat her up or anything.
I'm sorry for all this buzzing going on, because with this computer, my thing is just going off and I don't know why it's happening. Don't you just love this virtual counseling?
Oh, it's wonderful.
I don't know if you're hearing it. So that's what this is, these pop-ups. Well, we have a few more minutes. Is there anything else you'd like me to know before we stop?
Besides when she was 4, whenever I come to sessions, I'm pretty open about everything else.
Okay.
So, I don't know, I guess if she's ever trying to make sense of something, or, doesn't, maybe she's working something out and you need a little bit more information, then I can give that to you.
Okay.
For most of it.
Okay. All right, so I want to protect your confidentiality. Is it still okay to ask about her writing about Sam, or what would Sam do, and or would that still be? Is that still okay for me to talk in that sense? If she's...
Well, I think it would be weird not to.
All right.
I mean, because in that aspect, I'm part of her life. Okay. And since she brings that up, I mean, it would almost tip her off if you started, like, avoiding it.
Sam, you're so wise.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're not upset with me for our last session. So good. That I'm at least thankful for that.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to come to an understanding about it.
An understanding. This is an open relationship here. You feel free to give me any guidance and insight, because I know you have a vested interest in Samantha.
A little bit.
She's a lovely, wonderful person.
She is. Yeah. If only she could see it herself.
Yeah.
I think, and I just don't know where to start with her, because she just is so unconfident in, like, so many different ways. But, I don't know. I don't know where you'd start with that. That's the one thing I don't know about her. She's just so unconfident. and I don't know how to fix it.
You know, some things may take a little time, and I think that's my approach, is just being patient with her. I don't want to push her. I want her to find her inner voice, but part of her inner voice is you, right?
It is.
All right, Sam. It's good meeting you.
Oh, it was good talking to you again, Dr. George.
Listen, you take care, and I'll see you next week. Or I'll see you, both of you. You know, I'm going to talk. I'll see both of you next week.
You'll see both of us next week.
All right.
It may be more Samantha talking, but
That's okay.
it'll depend on how her week went. You know, I think most weeks she probably needs to do more of the talking, but we'll see.
You control that piece, all right?
All right.
All right, you
Have a wonderful day, Dr. George.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome.